What's up, Buck fans? Check it out. Welcome to the Aftermath on 102.9 The Game, Broad Street South Radio. It's finally here. Football is back for the beloved Bucs. We are playing the Bengals tonight. The main theme that I want y'all to get tonight is the diamond in the rough. Stay tuned.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
What's up, Buck fans? Hopefully that's what we're saying after tonight when we check out the future potential not starters, but diamond in the rough. Again, like I told y'all, it's the theme tonight is diamond in the rough. Who is going to be that guy fighting for that 53-man roster that is going to make an impact to this Bucs team? Because best believe the Bucs are on a mission this season. Again, welcome everybody. It's your host, AJ Turn up in the house right now. I'm glad you guys are doing very well. I need y'all to get your cannons, get your beer, get your popcorn, get your chips, get your wings, get your flags, because football for the Buccaneers is back tonight, baby. We have a special guest in the house tonight. I'm going to bring him up in a moment. I want you to welcome him to the Bucs Report family. This guy's a Bucs fan, and we're going to check him out, and we're going to be discussing who do you expect or who do you want to be a shining star that gives you hope that this Bucs team is going to be legit. Further ado, I bring you Derek Manny Buck Stevens. Welcome. How you doing, Derek?
Hey, everybody. I'm doing great, man. It's Bucs football. If you can't be doing great on Bucs football, the beginning of the season, whether it's preseason, the first game, you ain't got enough passion for the sport. And I'm super ready. I've focused on nothing but football, been reading articles, looking at tape, doing work on my reports and stuff. So I've been handling business today, getting ready for the game.
I appreciate that, man. Tell me, yes. Let the audience know where they can find you, where you stream or whatever, so they know who you are, Buck fans, because we love when we have Buck fans in here.
Well, first off, you can find me on YouTube at The Plunder 2023. You can find me on Instagram at The Plunder 2023. You can find me on TikTok at The Plunder 2023. And Facebook, you can find me at Derek Stevens. I've got a Plunder logo on it. If you need to, just hit up the comments down below. I'll see them. I'll go find you, and we'll link up one way or the other. I do a show on YouTube, which is streamed through Facebook as well. And at 88, The Real 88, he produces and puts on my show for me. He also co-hosts my show. I'm also on Pancakes and Power Bombs on The Real 88's YouTube and Facebook, and that is a show specifically focused on the generalization of the topic of football and the WWE wrestling promotion. So I'm all over the place. This is my second year going into the Plunder. This is probably coming up on like 10 months doing the Pancakes and Power Bombs, and we're hyped. We're ready to go.
Amen. So you hear that, Buck fans? There is no excuse for you to miss this man. This is what we like. You got somebody.
Excuse me. One more key. I've got to give props. And you can also find me at one more place. If you can't find me at this, at that, and you just got the internet, go to bucksreport.com and you will find my stuff all there. All the links, everything to go everywhere.
That's right. Thank you for that, Derek. So as you can see, Buck fans, we're here. We are here with it. So you cannot miss Derek. He's talking good stuff. So there is no excuse. So now, sorry about that, Derek. So now we are here to discuss the Bucs tonight because they are playing the Cincinnati Bengals. And this is one of the teams, Derek, that I don't know if you've been looking at some medias. this is a team that they are putting over our beloved Bucs. We're not getting the respect that we deserve. First of all, the Bucs are a top 10 overall team, but this is a team that they expect to just all of a sudden miraculously come back and be this legit team. But we're going to but before all that, what is your take on the media and their in their expectations and perception of this Buccaneers organization? What do you feel that has been, in your opinion, like when it comes to that?
Well, let me say this before I go any further into my opinion. If you've ever played baseball, I'm not talking softball, and I'm not talking your buddies in the backyard. I'm talking baseball. Somebody's throwing some heat at you, and you're trying to hit the ball. You ever get hit with the ball, whether it's 20 seconds or 45 minutes or for the rest of your life, you get gun shy for just a split second at minimum. And honestly, you look at the history, and history precedes itself. Now, there's no mistake in that. You are designed by your history, and whether that's you as an individual or you as an organization. And this organization for a long time was designed to be a loser, and to have a bad impact on the league and not go anywhere and not really make it through. And back when Jason Light and brought in Bruce Arians, and they reached out to a year later, they tried to work with Jameis, and Jameis didn't make it happen. And unfortunately, they were ready to keep Jameis. They told him to go get this knee surgery, go get the LASIK. But Tom Brady, I mean, what do you do? So we brought Tom Brady in, and that really sent the transition for the new culture over the top. And today I am buying the Kool-Aid of the new culture. There is no old culture in me any longer. I've been a Buccaneer fan since 1995 when Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks were drafted. I'm a Florida State fan, been a Florida State fan for years, and that rivalry really, just drove my passion. And I was born in Georgia, so I always followed the Falcons just in general, And I never claimed a team per se before that. I was always a Florida State fan, but never an NFL team. And when they got drafted by the same team, I'm like, I got to follow that. After they played each other all those years and really went at each other all those years, I had to go back and follow that. And I became a Buccaneer fan. And I went through a lot of those years. If you remember, from 1995 up until, there was one Super Bowl, and I was a part of that. And that was on another level, on another conversation. But, going back to the perception, with that new culture, you look at what we have and you look at the talent we have. We have one of the youngest teams in the league all around. We also have what we call consistency and camaraderie, because we signed 6 major pieces that were on our team the previous year, and 3 of them to big time major contracts. 2 of them could have went anywhere in the league and got paid jack money, back the Brinks truck up. So it wouldn't have mattered. So that being said, with what we have, I believe, albeit you got to throw injuries aside, in these theories, because you can take account for those. And if they come in, the next man up. And by the way, speaking of the next man up, I like the intro to your show, but I have a different way of saying that. The next man up could be the next Buck legend. Always remember that with these young guys. So never forget to pay attention in the preseason. I made that mistake earlier on in my football career. You got to pay attention to these preseason games for that matter. What we lack is depth. And that's a lot of the perception as to why the Buccaneers aren't being looked at as a championship Super Bowl team. We're being looked as a team that can very much so win the South Division because of the lack of experience and history with winning that the rest of the teams have. I mean, you look at Carolina; they look like a Pee Wee League team the other night. It was horrible. I watched the game. And anytime I can talk shit about the Panthers, just letting you know. But the Falcons have a potential. I mean, Penix looked decent last night. They got Kirk Cousins. They got a very talented squad. So, but the point is, they're a lower echelon division, part of a lower echelon division. So a lot of these people think that if we were in other divisions, we would be last and have a lot less wins. What I say to that is, the way that we've kept these teams together over the last few years, minus a few pieces, those pieces have not only come in and gotten paid, but got paid and produced when they didn't get paid just to get paid. Speaking of Baker Mayfield. So what I see is I see this team 100% capable of stepping in the shoes to be a caliber team that will win a Super Bowl. On the other hand, it's not an easy path for a team like the Buccaneers, a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, a team like the Ravens, a team even like the 49ers. Even if they lose Ayuk, they're loaded from top to bottom. And they're not going to get chump change back from Ayuk if he leaves, but the faster they get rid of him, honestly, the better off they'll be. But nonetheless, that being said, their paths are, semantically speaking, on paper a little bit easier than the Buccaneers. But there is no doubt we have a future Hall of Famer on one side. We have a future Hall of Famer on the other side. We have the best safety in the league. We have the highest paid safety in the league. We have the best hybrid tackle in the league. We have the highest paid tackle in the league. We have a quarterback that came in on a prove-it deal and got a $100 million contract. We got another guy that should be a career Buccaneer in Chris Godwin, although I believe there could be some shaky trees in the wind coming up on him. But nonetheless, I believe the Buccaneers are definitely a Super Bowl caliber team.
As you heard it, enough said. That was awesome. That was fire. Everything you just said is nice. And it's true. I think you're right. The Bucs are always deemed the losers just to the history in the past. Now I would say it's an unfair thing because there's a lot of great franchises out there that have not delivered the way the Bucs have. You just said something about the Panthers or the Saints. You know how the Saints have been around longer. Why have the Bucs had more success than the Saints? Why have the Bucs had more success than the Falcons? The Bucs have had more success than the Panthers. Unfortunately, the Bucs is an organization, like you said, they're going to remind us of the remnants of the past. Mm-hmm. But like you said, it's up to the Bucs to tell them, no, we're going to show you the actions of the future. And that's why I do think this team is, you just said it, it's young. What did Bowles say before? I know you remember, we're not rebuilding, we're resetting. I think a lot of people thought with Brady being gone, the Bucs were supposed to collapse, not realizing we still have Evans, Godwin, Cade Otton is emerging. That line, Tristan Wirfs. Put it this way: Tristan Wirfs will by next year be the best tackle in the league, hands down. By next year, yeah. Trent Williams is holding the title right now, but Tristan Wirfs will be there. The defense is young, like you said. I'm going to say this, Derek, and if I'm far-fetched, you tell me to pump my brakes. Tell me or not that Whitehead and Winfield are basically Earl Thomas and Chancellor 2.0 because they both can hit and they can cover.
If I'll say this, you've got over half of it right. Okay, you got 60% of it right with Winfield because he's going to cover most of the ground back there in that secondary. On the other hand, the weakness for Whitehead, he was insane in the box, insane against the run. His run defense is where he scouts from. His coverage in his coverage skills weren't to the best. He got burnt a lot. Now you didn't want to come across the field as a tight end and not know where the hell he was either, because he was a headhunter. I was almost heartbroken when the guy left. But it was a blessing to see him coming back, and what he was coming back to was Antoine Winfield being that guy that everybody thinks is the shit across the league. The guys like Derwin James. I mean, we've seen him in history. Safeties are highly prolific, and having a good safety is bad. I mean, he made countless highlight plays last year. Countless highlight plays. He was around the ball getting turned over numerous times last year. And for Whitehead to come back and having to not only play in the Buccaneers system, come back to the same system, which is a very key component to his success just this year, not only this year, but early on this year. But he came back with working under another system and having a different perspective and having different technique and having different things. So he's a lot smarter as a player. So I can tout that they have the ability. You're not wrong at where you're looking. It would be too soon to bona fide that, but by week 6, we should be able to know.
Oh, absolutely. Like you said, if I'm the Bulls right now, if a tight end want to go up that middle, Whitehead, take his head off. Because remember, Winfield can take your head off too, but like you said, if you want to think you're going to throw this little quick route, Antoine Winfield, pick it off. We know that the secondary they still have a lot to prove But the biggest thing is going to be the pass rush, in my opinion. Now, this is where we're going to discuss, guys, into depth why we want to see what these guys, the diamond in the roughs that I said earlier, can add. Because right now, the Bucs do not have a consistent elite pass rusher, and that's okay. But we want to see what we're going to be at depth. Because one thing about Bowles, when he has depth, he is dangerous. And I'm glad we're going into this segment because, guys, we want to hear what Derek has to say. Thank you. We want to get his personal expertise. Give me your guys that you are looking for tonight to make a shine on offense and defense. The floor is yours, Mr. Derek.
Well, I actually earlier, this past Thursday, I did a show, and a part of it was on Payne Durham, tight end. He's second year coming out of Purdue. And the key reason was a lot of the snaps. I want to say I overheard the number in an interview one time, and it was around the high 80s to the lower 90 percentile that Cade Otton was on the field as the number one tight end. That's crazy for a tight end, especially you got 18 weeks, 17 games, and potential 4 to 5 games in the playoffs you're trying to play. You can't be working that kind of workload and not have some rest during the year. And that's not to say that he's not good enough, but what's to say is you got to be smart about it. Just like some of the best running games have at least 2 really decent backs at minimum, unless they got a superstar stud, the top 3 or 4 backs in the league. But the reason why Payne Durham wasn't as accessible last year to be on the field, he came in a few times and he had 5 catches for about 80-something yards, but his weakness was the run game. He wasn't a good run blocker. So his versatility was in question, and he worked really hard on that this year. We've got other guys in the locker room, in the tight end room, Cole Keefe. We've got a young kid, what's his name? From Washington. I'm expecting to see a little bit out of him tonight. But Payne Durham is probably my focus for the game because I'm a big Cade Otton fan, and I think his success can be elevated by a little bit of rest and competition from a guy like Payne Durham, who is, in my opinion, he's got the same build as Cade Otton. He's got the same speed relativity as Cade Otton. He's the same archetype as Cade Otton. So from that perspective, I see a lot of positive things coming out of that as long as Payne Durham can get out there and elevate his all-around game and be a lot more versatile so he can come in and replace Cade Otton as opposed to playing aside Cade Otton. Another young player that I've got on the lookout for because I'm talking high on Rashad White. High on Rashad White. You can see the bloodshot eyes. I'm high on Rashad White, and what I believe is Bucky Irving coming in, and not only is he going to be a lightning bolt, and I predict we will get a kickoff return for a touchdown by Bucky Irving this year. And let me tell you, anybody can tell me the last time they've seen that. Put it in the comments.
Yeah,
Buy a Buccaneer. Tell me the year. You ain't even got to tell me the game because that's a lot of digging you got to do. But I believe Bucky Irving's got that kind of firepower. And with this new system, I believe we're going to see a lot of those touchdowns this year. Be in mind, I'm talking about this, and we haven't mentioned the new kickoff rules. So keep that in mind, guys. That's going to be really fun. If you ain't seen it yet, get on NFL Network right now. Go to Dofu Sports right now. Watch a game online because this new kickoff rule is funky, man. These shifty players are really going to – early off in the season, they're really going to take off, and it's going to catch. Special teams coaches are going to catch on to it, and they're going to learn to tighten up and make adjustments. But you're going to see some big plays on special teams this year. That's how special teams are going to impact plays this year. But Bucky Irving in the run game, I believe they did a lot of running in Oregon and a lot of passing from the backfield to the running back. So that's why I think he's a great addition. No offense to Chase Edmonds. As a matter of fact, Bucky Irving accredited Chase Edmonds for being that kind of leader when he first came to the organization and came to One Buck. He really touted his name about being a humongous impact on him when he first came in, made him feel really comfortable, him and the whole locker room, the running back room. The other 2 players I have, one is on the offensive line. And if you're not talking, Graham Barton, just shut up. Plain and simple, just shut up. Graham Barton is going to be – I heard somebody say, we drafted Graham Barton, because we needed a guard. Do you know who Big Red is?
Exactly.
Big Red. Like, no offense to Robert Hainsey, his original position is guard, first off.
Right.
It's guard, all right? If he was playing guard 2.5 years in a row because he was pretty much replaced. I mean, Ryan Jensen was hurt a lot in the last 4 years, 3-4 years of his career, and Hainsey's been on the team for a few years, and he's replaced him a lot. Hainsey's played really well at center. He didn't do a horrible job. I also think if you're leveling him up, you're leveling up 1 or 2 paces at minimum to Ryan Jensen. So that's the difference you're looking at it all around with the communication, the knowledge to be able to smell the play that the defense is running, because Ryan Jensen was that damn good. He should be, in my opinion, a first ballot Hall of Famer. And he definitely will hit the Ring of Honor. But Graham Barton, his natural position, center, not tackle. He played a lot of tackle. He's a naturally positioned center. Now, fortunately, it's not like it's easier than switching. Now, switching from left to right and right to left, everybody says it shouldn't be that hard. But the reason why it's hard is if you're on the right side of the ball, you're directing traffic in a certain direction, this way, towards the outside 90% of the time. It's the left side, you're not directing them, which is to the right. Okay, so you're right. You're right hand dominant right there in that scenario. If you're on the left side as a tackle, you're not right hand dominant. You should be left hand dominant, because your goal is to wedge the player to the outside and not let him escape on the outside. Most of the time, depending on the blocking assignment, I mean, you could be running the defensive end on the inside shoulder, but at the same time, you got to close that gap to prevent him to go in. But it's a whole different movement for your body. So that transition is massively difficult, i.e. why I said what I said earlier when I was talking about Tristan Wirfs as the best hybrid tackle in the league. And only the elite tackles can do what he does. I mean, for one, the dude broad, flat foot, jumped out of a swimming pool and flat-footed landed. I mean, just stop it. So Graham Barton moving inside is not that much less of a challenge to adjust to, considering the habitual nature that he's had over the last few years being at tackle. But his natural position is center. So he's had a rough go, a couple of practices, but I expect to see a lot of him, if not most, the whole game. I expect to see him at least 3 quarters this game to get some work in, a lot of work in. Because his development is going to be key to our offensive line, because I think minus the injuries, we've lost 2 guys so far, and we lost a help on the run game that Zapata, I can't say his name.
I remember. Yeah, he was designed to be.
He is a huge hole maker in the run game. His strength is the run game. So that was a big loss, but we really threw a lot into free agency. We really threw a lot into the draft and the offensive line, and I really believe that we're going to get it together. We've got to actually make that work with Graham Barton. So making sure he is ready is key. Now, the last person I got on offense, you say what you want, people. He ain't going to live forever. Even Superman retired. Okay? Iron Man, you won't get to see him no more. Lies. You will see him in a different outfit. But the Iron Man costume will stay gone forever. Okay, so he's retired. Mike Evans will retire. And guys like Trey Palmer, guys like Jalen McMillan, they are going to be the future at wideout. And you've seen Trey Palmer. Now, granted, it's in practice and all this and that, but Trey Palmer's weakness was his hands last year. He couldn't keep the ball. If he could keep the ball in his hands and catch the ball, he would be nasty right now. But and the development can come definitely, but he's coming into his second season, and Jalen McMillan should have been a superstar outside of injury coming out of Washington, and I think he's another player on offense to watch. On defense, 2 huge players. Keenan Isaacs. I say Keenan Isaacs because he's a cornerback. We are on our second I wouldn't say weakness, but we are really uncertain. We lost 2 players in the last 2 years that were veteran type players, and Sean Murphy Bunting and then Carlton Davis. And no matter their play, they were veterans, and that made it a big thing. Now, the play of Christian Izzy and out of safety last year, he played a lot of nickel, which helped. Zion McCullough, which is going to be your number 2 cornerback this year. I really go on Buccaneer.com and look at some of the stuff that they got up on him, and it's a really interesting story. He's got a brother that plays in the league for Philadelphia, I want to say, unless he went somewhere in the offseason. But he's Keenan Isaacs, the cornerback position in general. All those young guys are going to be somebody I keep an eye on tonight. Tyke Smith at safety. Look, there's been a lot of talk about this dude. And if you pay attention to this draft, look at the colleges that were drafted players from. These are colleges that are used to primetime games, that are used to championship games, that are used to big-time championship solo games on TV. These boys are not trained by the guppies in college. They're raised in there's a pedigree to these boys that come out of college. And that they talked about Tyke Smith being leap and bounds faster than what he should have been as far as receiving the product that they were feeding him and applying it onto the field. They said, you're looking at the guys that's like in week 4 or 5 right now compared to, the first week of training camp. So I'm highly expecting big things from him, which in turn drives competition, in turn makes Jordan Whitehead better. Okay.
Facts.
So, going back to the most important position, and it's the most important position, I want to say 2 things because Yaya Diaby is out. But let me go ahead and say something on what you said. Yaya Diaby is elite. He has not shown you the evidence this year, but if you watched everything from last year and the transformation of his body and the athleticism gained from what he transformed into from last year to this year physically, now back off the injury, and that's a hard thing to get by. Now, he's also going to be playing week 1, I expect. He won't be 100%. On that ankle injury, ladies and gentlemen, tamper your expectations. He won't be 100% until the end of the season, bar none. That ankle will not heal until he gets off of it. He's not going to be off of it for weeks at a time unless he has another injury. So that being said, what are we going to expect? I had him being a top 3 sack leader. Top 3. I said it on the Plunder 3 weeks ago. He's a top 3 sack leader. Yaya Diaby is going to be nasty. That being said, guys like JTS, I think he's out of here after this year. We're getting what we can out of him because he's a cheap player. We don't have to pay for him. He's already paid for. Right. But I don't think he's produced enough to get a second contract. Now, he could show out and have a good year, but who knows? He's definitely shown sparks, but he's never been consistent. Another one that's right on the same path as him is Logan Hall. And Logan Hall, actually, if I'm not mistaken, is behind Yaya on the report, the depth chart report. So he's actually supposed to be the starter in Yaya's absence.
Yeah.
But Chris Braswell, I got a bunch of Alabama fans, being a Florida State fan and being up here in the Panhandle, and I got a huge amount of respect for the athleticism and the coach itself out there. I hate Alabama. Roll my ass. But nonetheless, I give credit where credit's due. Saban belongs on Mount Rushmore, and the way he coaches and gets his boys to adhere to what he teaches them is outstanding. Because whether they come to the league and produce, superstar numbers, they come to the league and produce on their team. They're good teammates. They're great in the community. They're good dudes all around, and they have good skills and they apply them. So from that perspective, in general, that's what you want as a coach and as an organization, as a fan base. Like one of my favorite players is a Buccaneer. Don't get it twisted. William Golston. Dude's a boss. Dude is a boss.
Yes,
He's a lifer. He should retire a Buccaneer. I'm glad they re-signed him. But Chris Braswell is going to be huge. They said he was a stud. I went and looked up his tape because I can't stand Alabama so much. I do not watch them. I don't care who they're playing. I don't watch them. I don't like watching them. I can't stand it. So I didn't get to see a lot of him. But, man, the highlight plays this guy was in, Chris Braswell can be a stud. He is a late bloomer, though, so we're not going to see that. We could definitely see the same pattern that he and that Yaya had last year. The difference was Yaya was hurt. He didn't come on and start playing until week 4. He didn't start a game until week 7. And then from that until the end of the season, him and Kalijah Cansey was dominating the defensive line. So Chris Braswell is another player. Now, the last player I have, because of the linebacker shortage that we have, as far as guaranteed bona fide, Yaya's a linebacker, but he's also injured. And you got Logan Hall. And I've talked about 2 players that I don't necessarily think is going to be on the team in the next year or 2. Kalen DeLoach. If you watched Florida State play, that defense was full of animals. And I say that to say this. Go check out Jared Verse's tackle video running around on social media. He'd come up, he was running drills with an offensive lineman and hit that offensive lineman in his chest with his hands, and the offensive lineman started dancing like he was on roller skates backwards about 5 feet and then hit his big 300-pound ass on the ground. I said, yeah, meet Jared Verse. He ain't welcome to the NFL. The NFL is going to be, I'm telling you, Jared Verse is going, they got a great pick with him, a great pick with Jared Verse. But Kalen DeLoach played on that same defense. I watched this kid play in and play out. He was one of my favorite. Kalen DeLoach and him were one of my favorite players on the Florida State team. I actually know a couple of them personally. My cousin's son went to school with the boy that just this playing at Florida State right now. And I'm eyeballs deep in Florida State. And Kalen DeLoach, his motor, he reminds me of the athletic ability of a Devin White. He can get sideline to sideline really quick. He's a blitzer like Devin White was. You know, he's that same style of linebacker. And in all honesty, if they're breeding KJ Britt to be that field general type with that coverage skills, because he's got really decent coverage skills, then you're going to need that other middle linebacker in a 3-4 to be able to really be expertise like in the pass rush game, because you both can't pass rush all the time, especially in your zone defenses. You got to have somebody covering the middle of the field unless you're going to run something funky. And look, Todd Bowles is definitely the guy to run something funky on defense as far as, you know, it comes to disguising a blitz. But Kalen DeLoach, I have no doubt he was undrafted. He was signed through free agency. I no doubt 150% he's going to make the roster. How much is he going to, and because he's going to definitely be on the special teams, but how much is he going to affect the linebacker room and that part of the field? And I'm really looking forward to seeing him. And Servassier Dennis, even though he isn't a rookie, and so yeah, I've got a whole list of guys that I've got a lot of homework to do. And when I get done tonight, I'm really going to break it down. I'm going to break these 8 players down. I'm going to work their stats. The 2 players that have the least amount of effect and production, i.e. whether it was, and it's not going to be because of inability. If they only come in for 2 plays, they only come in for 2 plays, you know. But if you got a guy that come in and played 2 quarters and he gave up, you know, a sack and a tackle for a loss, you know, and I'm talking Graham Barton, you get a shit score. And I operate the plunder, and Pirates are a part of the plunder. And when we don't like people who mess with our booty, we put them on the plank. So those 2 players will go on the plank tonight and have to walk off the plank. We'll leave it to Bowles and Light if they want to kick them off the team, but I want to see production from these young guys. That's the whole key to this game. Production from the young guys. I want to see, you know, if you make a mistake earlier on in your shift on the field, you know, make sure you clean that up. I'm very, very, very deep in following Buccaneers and football and the whole thing. So I'm definitely in tune with what I'm talking about. If you guys got any questions, I'm not an expert by any means, or I'd be getting paid, or I'd be on TV. I got a passion for what I do. I love these players. So anybody ever want to talk, hit my DMs.
Amen to that. And again, thank you again for breaking down those Bucs players, because you hit on 90% of the people I said. So I'll make mine quick. Yeah, I'm looking for Braswell. Show me why you is that Alabama stud. Zion, show me that you can replace the corners and be solid. Jalen, if you go and replace Godwin, you damn sure better be that guy. And Trask, just be able to beat the second and third string people. But with that being said, we got 5 minutes into the game. Guys, we're going to get ready to get up out of here. But again, let's thank Mr. Derek Manny Buck for joining us tonight. And please tell everybody where they can find you again and if you got any future projects.
All right, guys. You can find me at Derek Stevens. I got a Plunder logo as my Facebook page. You can also find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Plunder 2023.
My man. As always, thank you for your time, and go Bucs, my brother.
Yes, sir. Go Bucs.
Welcome again. And again, guys, thank you again for checking out the Bucs pregame of the Aftermath on 102.9 Game Broad Street South Radio. We will be back after this game. And again, you can check me out on my TikTok live, AJ Turnup. Got a lot of people out there who don't know what they're talking about, and it's my duty to school them. I've took that upon myself. I'm a student of the game as well. But as always, you guys take care of yourselves, and let's go Bucs.